Hey everybody, welcome to Middle Class Reactions. Today we're going to take a look at a debate that Charlie Kirk did at some college. Don't does it say? Not sure what college he was at for this one. But I like a lot of Charlie Kirk's debates, especially the style debate. I think it's really helpful. But this is one subject. He's not as bad as someone like Ben Shapiro. This is one subject where he just doesn't. It's like he doesn't see clearly because Israel and his religious connection to it, which I'm a Christian, make no apologies about that. But it, you'll see my thoughts on this. Just like the Russia-Ukraine war and this war, it's not as simple as right and wrong in a lot of aspects. So let's take a look at these two guys here going at it and see what happens.
Sure. I was going to ask you, you think that Israel should displace the Palestinians from Palestine to Egypt and Jordan?
It's a tough question.
And in case y'all don't know, that's what Trump right now is throwing the idea of around, is putting all the Palestinian people in Egypt and Jordan and then rebuilding Gaza.
I will say this, guys. I'm happy to do the whole afternoon on Israel, but let's try to get at other questions. But
that's what I'm. That's
I'm
what
not
here.
blaming you. I'm just
okay.
to the audience.
Yeah.
It's a difficult question. I don't know what the solution is. I don't.
So you think it's right for them to ethnically
I'm not saying it's
cleanse
right.
them?
I'm saying the solution is very difficult because the people of Gaza have shown that they are incapable of self-government.
Sure.
Incapable. That when they are given self-government, it becomes a terrorist hotbed, and it becomes a nightmare for the Jewish people, and war ensues. So I don't know what the...
Right, but my question here is, do you think it's ethnic cleansing to forcibly tell them to get out of Gaza?
Again, I'm not even saying I support it.
Because this is what Trump said.
I know what Trump said. I'm not even saying that I think that's a good idea. I do want someone to tell me what the solution is, though. Because that's an idea.
Yes, Egypt actually offered...
This is where I do agree with Charlie. There's no easy answer for this, especially at this point in the war. There's been so much killing, and there's been both Israel and Hamas are in the wrong here, especially at this point. Those two aren't going to come to a deal. So, because if you're looking at this honestly, look at it from Israel's side. October 7th happened. Awful, horrendous. No one who's honest with themselves defends that. But Israel's response, also awful and horrendous, and should not be defended. So at this point, those two aren't going to come to an agreement together. I've been a big fan of someone like Egypt or the UAE coming in and pretty much buying Gaza and rebuilding it and them running it. That's been my idea. I'm not a fan of forcing anyone who lived in Gaza to go to Egypt or Jordan. Now, if we give them the opportunity to say, hey, here's an option for you, awesome. If they take that. And then the people who want to stay in Gaza, why you would want to, I don't know. But for the people who want to stay there, it should be their choice.
Offer the solution, but Trump actually was against it.
What would you say the solution is?
The solution is to have an Arab state to govern them, basically, and for Hamas not to be in control. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So we had something close to that, though, for years, where Gaza was controlled by Hamas. Gaza democratically elected Hamas.
In 2006, that's correct.
Yeah,
but they weren't able to democratically elect again after 2006.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Because the people liked it.
So here's where Charlie's argument starts to get, I'm not going to say fully dishonest, but at least a little willfully ignorant. Because right here, he's saying Hamas is a state. And that's the government of Gaza. I'll point this out here in a little bit when it happens. But here later in the video, he says that it's not a thing. That Gaza and the Palestinian people and Palestine in itself is not a thing. Does not exist. Those two things can't be true at the same time. So, kind of, this is where Charlie's argument, a lot of his argument to me, starts to really just. He's either being willfully ignorant or he seems very uncomfortable talking about this topic. I don't know if it's his connection to Trump. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I like a lot of Charlie's debates, but this one he just seems on edge and just not wanting to be truthful about it.
It's not because people liked it. It's because they didn't have any other choice but to do that.
We don't know. You might be right. I might be right. I think I'm right. Let me tell you why.
Okay, why?
Because when the terrorists went and killed a bunch of Jews on October 7th.
Yes, I know that a lot of people were happy to see. Yes, and why? Why is that? Why is that? Because it didn't start on October 7th. It didn't.
So, and as awful as this is to say, I'm not defending what Hamas did. Obviously, just to be clear, the rest of this video, I'm not defending Hamas, but you have to look at this logically. Israel has had Gaza in an open air prison for decades. If your government hits back and hits them, as awful as it is, if you've been living in an open air prison, if you're born in an open air prison, your brothers and sisters were born in an open air prison, your mom and dad were born in an open air prison, which is what Gaza is or was. I'm not defending it. I'm not saying what they did was a good thing. It's not. It's horrendous. But if you look at it honestly, you can't necessarily blame them for being happy that their government or their leaders, however you want to go about it, hit back Israel. It's like, I mean, you can't say that, hey, when Hamas attacks Israel, it's a good thing for Israel to attack back. But when Israel attacks Hamas and attacks Gaza, then you call them horrible and horrendous people for attacking back. Now, again, what they did was horrendous. Not defending it. It was awful. I've seen the videos that a lot of y'all have seen. But, I mean, it's hard to blame the actual population because I know they didn't know what happened on October 7th. I'm sure Hamas came to them and was like, hey, we struck Israel. We did this such and such good thing. And the local population was probably like, nah, cool, sweet. That's awesome. So it's a little dishonest it's being a little bit dishonest to not, if you're looking at things from both sides, honestly, to not see that.
It didn't start on October 7th.
Yeah, but this is where we're going to disagree.
Okay.
So I look at things in the term of right and wrong,
sure,
and just and unjust, not oppressor or oppressed. A different worldview that could be on the left, not saying you are, would say, hey, the people of Gaza.
Yeah, I voted for Trump, by the way.
No, I'm not saying that. For sure, great. We just might not agree on this issue. The people of Gaza, some people would say, hey, it's been a bubbling up problem. We're going to justify what's happening on October 7th. We look at that.
Again, not justifying what happened, but it is dishonest to say that you cannot understand where, take Hamas out of it, where the people, when you take a random poll saying, hey, are you happy October 7th happened? It's a little dishonest to not understand where they're coming from when they say yes. I mean, you can't look at it logically and objectively from both sides and not see that. You just can't.
And we say it's never acceptable to go and kidnap and to go cut throats, unprovoked, unprompted.
Sure, it's against international law, and I believe that Israel as well, like where they did a lot of things that were against international law as well.
Well, I don't quite know what that would mean, but yeah, I mean,
war crimes,
such as
mass people.
Yeah, man, it's just, again, I don't want to keep going in circles, but it's like I can't see a single instance of Israel going out of its way to kill civilians.
You don't see it, and it's
okay. And this is where he's really just being dishonest. I'm not going to say that Israel is going out of their way to kill civilians. To me, what it looks like is Israel just doesn't care. I mean, let's do a quick Google search here. How many Gazans have died in the October 7th attack? Let's go to somewhere somewhat down the middle. And this, I mean, this you're going to not find anyone down the middle, but let's say you're looking at, okay, so this was published August 15th of 2024. So this is over a year old, well over a year old. And a year ago, Palestinians killed in Gaza was 40,000. People killed in Israel, 1,200. So again, I'm not saying that I'm happy anyone in Israel died. I'm obviously not. But you can't just sit there and openly defend them killing. At this point, I think the number is around 70,000, 60 to 70,000, somewhere in that range. You can't just be like, oh, well, they didn't mean to do that. That's just dishonest. You can't say that.
Single instance of what?
Israel going out of its way to kill civilians. I see Israel going out of its way.
So you don't believe what they've done is genocide?
No, of course not. Because let's get our terms. Let's just go. What is genocide?
A genocide basically mass a certain group because of their ethnicity, race, or culture or religion.
So was October 7th a genocide?
It wasn't a genocide, no.
By your own definition.
Yeah, let me tell you why. Because the ICJ now is investigating Israel. They're not investigating Hamas for genocide, if you know that.
Who?
The ICJ?
Yeah, the ICJ is anti-Israel, has been for a while.
Oh, okay.
So here's one thing to note. Look, would Hamas commit genocide on every Israeli if they had the option, if they had the ability to? Yes, 100%. But they don't have the ability to. I mean, let's be real. They don't have the ability. Was what October 7th did they have genocidal intentions? Yeah, 100%. Was that a genocide? No, not a genocide. Just because they didn't complete it. You know, it's kind of hard to commit a genocide when you didn't do the genocide. Did they have genocidal intent? Yes, 100%. Hamas has openly stated that. As has Netanyahu has openly stated he would like to wipe Gaza clean. He's openly stated that. Openly stated it. So that's another point where Charlie Kirk's being I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's being willfully ignorant. That Netanyahu's openly said that he would like to just clear Gaza. So it's like, do I think Israelis are genocidal? No. Do I think Netanyahu is willing to commit a genocide to get Gaza and fully be his? Yeah. It seems pretty obvious at this point.
Okay, yeah, sure they are. Why do you say that?
Well, because they're funded largely by Arab
They're funded by who?
monarchies.
Funded by who? Hamas?
Well, like by Qatar and Saudi Arabia and by very wealthy Gulf dictatorships.
So
I just hold on. You're trying to say that Hamas was not
Just as Israel funds a lot of the same organizations that give the numbers out that Charlie cites in this video, Israel funds all those organizations. So again, it's like this is where it gets hard to kind of take numbers and believe them, because you don't know whose numbers are coming from what and who's funding the studies. So it's kind of hard back and forth. But I mean, you can't ignore that that's definitely a thing.
investigated for what happened on October 7th?
Hamas is not being investigated by the ICJ of doing a genocide. Yes, that is
Have you
correct.
watched the videos?
I have watched the videos. Yeah,
what
that
do
is
you-
correct. I feel like
you
it's
saw
I
the-
think
did you see
Hamas-
the one
I
where
think
the-
Hamas-
And no, that's not the video
And
glitching.
when they
That wasn't the video glitching. That was they blurred that out.
were laughing, you saw that one?
Sure. I think Hamas, what they've done was barbarism. I think they're
How
a
is it not
terrorist
a
group.
war crime then?
I think Hamas is a terrorist group. I really think they are.
Again, was what Hamas did a war crime? 100%, absolutely. Here's the thing about war crimes. Again, I'm not defending Hamas in this, but here's the thing about war crimes, is that everybody commits them. It's what it is. It's just what it is. Very few people. Technically, the U.S. hadn't even signed the Geneva Convention, but it's like, should you commit war crimes? No. But war crimes happen in war. I mean, it's kind of one of the things that happens. And for Charlie to obviously put out, which he is correct, oh, what Hamas did is a war crime. Yeah, 100%. Hey, is what Israel did a war crime? Also, yes. Or is what Israel has done up to this point a war crime? Yeah.
But that doesn't justify what Israel has done so far. That's all I'm saying.
Well, again, there's two separate things, but everything Israel did was
As of what October 7th, you believe that the Mossad, for example, is one of the biggest agencies in the world. Might be even better than the CIA, right?
Yes and no. I don't think they're nearly as effective as people think they are, and I can prove it to you. But
let me just prove my point, please. So what I'm trying to say here is that basically the Mossad knew about the attack from Hamas because they only had like Chinese bicycles, bikes and stuff like that to go in. So what I think is that basically the Mossad they knew about this attack because Hamas basically is Israel's biggest asset. If Hamas wasn't there, they would have not killed anybody. So I think
I just want to make sure I understand your argument. There's one part of the argument is asking, did Israel know? And was there a stand down order? I asked that question, never gotten an answer. You're going a step further.
We don't have proof.
And
that they knew.
hypothesizing that the Mossad, which is
That's not 100% correct. I'll get to that in a second.
their CIA, wanted it to happen.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's insane.
Why do you think it's insane?
So you think that Mossad which are Jews, wanted 1,300 Jews to die.
They didn't know that 1,300 people would die.
You mean like the USA would do that? Oh, I don't know. Possibly the vid, or go all the way back Gulf of Tonkin, or any of the times that the U.S. government was happily willing to let Americans die to fund whatever it is that they wanted to do. I mean, the whole 20-year war in the Middle East. So again, it's another one of those things. It's willfully ignorant. Israel is led by Jews, and so how they would never, be willing to let other Jews die for to expand what they want to do. It's like, come on, does anybody really believe that a government wouldn't let their own citizens die to further an agenda? Anybody being honest with themselves, I don't think you can say that.
But they wanted to see something so that they can be able to actually attack Palestine.
Got it. So we're just not going to agree, because you have a much lower view of Jewish people than I do.
No, I believe in Israel's.
That's another one of those things where it's like, look, you can criticize the Israeli government without criticizing Jewish people. It's like when I criticize the American government, I'm not criticizing Christians. That's a very dishonest way to argue.
Right to exist too.
No, I know, but what you're saying is that the Jewish leadership of Mossad wanted the Hamas to attack.
Yes, because what I'm trying to tell you is that they had homemade drones too. Hamas had homemade drones that they used. Okay, so how are they not able to see all of that happening? Is all I'm trying to say.
Well,
it's a fair point. I mean, Israel's got one of the best militaries in the world, funded by us, with American equipment, to be fair. But one of the best militaries in the world. You gonna tell me you couldn't see that coming?
I mean, first of all, part of it is a legitimate question, but getting to as far as saying that must be the case, it's a big leap. It was a holy day.
Sure.
Right, which is very important. It was Shabbat,
Sure.
which is, 90% of IDF troops aren't there. But
why is that important? Oh, hey, it's Christmas, so we're going to stand down, 90% of the U.S. military so they can celebrate Christmas. Dude, what? That's just dishonest. Let
me just kind of close on a moral question. Point, then a question. Number one, Hamas did not go after military targets.
Yes,
they went
did.
after civilian targets.
That's very true. Correct.
Inexcusable.
Just like Israel has leveled the Gaza Strip, that's almost all civilians.
Number two, though,
that's what they were able to put their hands on.
Let me ask you a question. Who do you think there's a good guy or a bad guy in the equation of Israel versus Hamas?
As of who?
Both bad. What Hamas did was undefensible and horrendous. What Israel's doing right now is undefensible and horrendous. That's just what it is.
I'm asking, which one do you think is good, bad, better, or worse?
I think Hamas is bad. I think what the Israel government is doing is bad as well. That's why we don't have an agreement.
Got it. So let me ask you just a hypothetical, and I don't mean to be interruptive.
Sure.
What should Israel have done in response to 1,300 people in the most horrendous way?
To target Hamas members and
use the U.S. military ally that you have. Because let's be honest, if Israel was to get a hold of, at the time, Joe Biden and say, hey, can we have a couple SEAL teams or a couple whatever XYZ teams that you need to come in here and help us create some target packages and do this silently? You don't think that would have happened? Are you insane?
In a better way, to not mass
What is a
kill
better
people.
way? Explain what.
To not openly bomb cities where over 50% of the population is under 18.
That looks
Well,
like.
there's a reason why they have special forces. There was a reason why they have the best military. There's a reason why they have the best military equipment in the world, so that they'll be able to target Hamas members.
Yeah, but they did all of that, and so I never get a concrete answer.
Really.
So what I just want is I'm not going to defend everything that every IDF soldier ever did, but I find it so interesting that everything that Israel does gets so hyper-examined through this lens that no other country ever gets held to the standard of, ever.
Nobody does anything like Israel.
You believe that?
With Palestine, yeah.
You believe that no other country does what Israel does?
With Palestine.
So I wish this dude on the left would have worded this differently, because he is correct. He just didn't word it right. No other civilized, what would be considered like a Western type of nation, is doing what Israel's doing. The other nation that you could look at that's has been doing that is what we were doing in the Middle East for the last 20 to 25 years. So were we doing it with Israel, you see it more because Gaza is such a condensed place. But now, in what I say, am I saying that what the U.S. was in the Middle East to commit a genocide? No, I'm not saying that. But what the dude on the left, what he's saying is not incorrect. He just didn't word it right. The reason it's getting so much attention and why so many people are examining what Israel's doing is because no other Western type of nation that we consider very, very civilized and not a barbaric style nation is just openly doing this.
Sign? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Who else? Tell me.
You think that? No, I want you to just pause. You think that from the African civil wars?
Has anybody done anything worse to the
Again, third world country, not the same.
to the Palestinians more than the Israel?
Yeah, a lot of people have actually. Like the internment camps throughout China for the Uyghur Muslims.
Wasn't to the Palestinian people, like the dude asked. But even those, yeah, what China's doing to the Uyghur Muslims is horrendous and awful. But is the IDF blockading Gaza for the last however many decades they've been there now, is that not also terrible? I mean, is being in an open air prison versus an actual prison really? I mean, I guess you could say being in a single celled cage is worse than being in like the entire prison you're able to walk around is better, but I mean, both are awful.
Or the North Korean open air concentration camps. Again,
communist, not an advanced country. It's not something you can really it's not apples to apples there.
Well, basically, they didn't commit genocide.
Yeah,
they didn't want ethnic cleansing.
But let me just close with this.
Right?
And this is not your. What's your name?
Yusuf.
Yusuf, this is not your fault, but it is an intentional provocation, and I find it to be repulsive. Not you, but generally, the overuse of the word genocide, because when you keep on.
I mean, by definition, genocide is wanting to exterminate a religion or a race or a group of people because that they are that race, that religion, that group. Netanyahu's openly stated that he wants to do that. It's not even a secret. It's on video. He's openly said it. So, I mean, you can say that genocide gets overly used, which I would say it does, but in this instance, it's not, by the definition, it's not inaccurate.
On using genocide, you're basically trying to cheapen actual genocides that have happened the last 100 years.
Why would I have to cheapen it? I still believe that there are other genocides that happen too.
So you think
so you think if I say that it's a genocide,
I just want to make sure I understand this. You think that Israel's intentionally trying to kill as many people of Gaza as possible?
Yes.
Netanyahu's openly said he wants to do that.
Well, they're not doing a great job of it because the population keeps on going up.
Well, yeah,
there's a lot of talk about what's happening.
The population of Gaza has not went up since the war started. That's just a dumb argument to make, and we're going to skip past this ad here because they're not paying me.
Well, they're not doing a great job of it because the population keeps on going up.
Well, yeah, they 50,000 so far.
No, not even.
Since October 7th.
Maybe 20,000.
No.
But again.
Okay, even IDF's numbers aren't that low. And this video was posted March 12th of this year. So for Charlie to say that's maybe 20,000, I mean, that even the IDF is saying that they've killed more than 20,000 people. So, I mean, that's just like a blatant lie, a willful lie too. He knows that's not true.
How did you get your information? What, 20,000? What?
Well, it's again.
You want to fact check me? You want to fact check me?
You're getting too combative. I don't trust any of the numbers of the international.
Oh boy, is getting kind of loud, but it's not combative.
National community.
Okay, sure.
But if it was really their goal to kill as many people of Gaza as possible, why doesn't Israel just bomb and kill them all right now?
Because basically all the world is going to be totally against it. Which
pretty much the entire world is already against Israel for what they're doing. And again, why bring that up? Why try to make that your argument? Like, oh, if it's like saying, oh, China doesn't like the US, why don't they just nuke us? I wonder why. It's like, don't think that would have worse repercussions than the act of actually nuking us? You don't think Israel nuking Gaza and just turning it into glass wouldn't have worse repercussions for Israel? It's like that's just a dumb argument.
So they are, but it gets to a point. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, how you want to say that? Why wouldn't they just nuke Gaza? Is what you're trying to say?
Because they actually have tried. They have done their best to. So here's some facts.
They wouldn't be able to justify
They drop
that.
leaflets before they bomb. They do medical emergency.
Hey, I'm going to leave you a note in your mailbox that I'm going to rob you, and then I'm going to come rob you tomorrow. Since I left you a note, it's fine. That's another one of those arguments. It's just a stupid argument.
Surgeries for people of Gaza every single day, all throughout Israel. They are they are saving people's lives of Gaza every day.
And they bomb churches too. Do you know that?
Yeah, and I actually spoke out against it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Charlie just acknowledged that. But if Hamas went and bombed a church, Charlie would come out and call them reprehensible, which it would be. That is a reprehensible thing to do. But when Israel does it, it's not near as big of a deal. Like what?
And I don't know. One time you've said that the Jews have never been ruled peacefully under the Arab rule.
Well, I asked for an example of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are a couple.
Okay. I think the Jews in this audience wouldn't trust Muslims to govern them.
I'm saying in the Ottoman Empire. And
you trust Muslims to govern you?
I'm saying in the Ottoman Empire, Al-Andalus Empire from the.
I would not point to the Ottoman Empire as being a beacon of peace.
Please. I'm saying that Al-Andalus from the 8th to the 12th centuries, they say 4 centuries. They say 4 centuries in peace. It was actually called the Golden Age of the Jews. Did you know that, Charlie?
Well, actually, the Jews were in exile during that time, weren't they? Weren't they in Babylonia, and that's when the Babylonian Talmud was written?
When Al-Andalus took control, they basically welcomed the Jews for 4 centuries. You can look it up.
Yeah, but they were not in Israel, were they?
Not in Israel, but
so
you're
how
asking
could it,
me.
wait,
wait,
how could it be the Golden Age of the Jews if they weren't in Israel?
That's what they called it. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, that's what the Muslims called it.
No. Listen. Because what you said is basically that they never lived in peace under the Arab rule.
I asked a question.
What Charlie's doing here is a pretty common tactic. He asked the question, the dude answered it, and I don't know if it was called the Golden Age of Jews or not, but they were peaceful with Muslims for 4 centuries in that spot. And when Charlie gets told that information, I would assume he either didn't know it or didn't want it said. He tries to make a joke and flip around on it. Pretty common tactic he does. It can be funny, but it's not a fantastic debate tactic.
Said, can you point to an example?
I just pointed it out to you right now.
I find it to be completely lackluster. It's just not true. But
was there no peace to the Jews in Al-Andalus Empire? Is what you're trying to say?
No, again, I don't want to go back into like 8th century history.
That's
with
what you.
I mean, you asked for an example and he gave you one.
You asked a broad question.
I didn't ask you. That was a video like a couple weeks ago.
But
I would not say the Ottoman Empire was an example of peace. But I just want to be. If Israel laid down all of its weapons, what would happen?
This is another just stupid argument. It's like, okay, well, I'll let them talk it out.
If Israel would lay down all of its weapons, I've heard what you said. You said that basically that Hamas members will basically take control of Israel.
Or the Arab world would, right?
Okay. Is that statement true? Yes. If Israel laid down its weapons, the Arab world would take over Israel. 100%. That's not even a consideration. Like, that's not even a realistic thing that'll happen. Oh, what would happen if the U.S. just laid down its weapons? China or Russia would just take over the U.S. I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah, that would probably happen, but there's no way in the world, 1, that would happen, 2, that it would be allowed to happen, and 3, it's not even being talked about. So, I mean, it's like, oh, hey, what would happen if Russia or what would happen if Ukraine just laid all of its weapons down? Oh, Russia would just come in and take it. Yeah, probably. Is it even being talked about for Ukraine to just lay their arms down and let Russia do what they're going to do? No, that's a stupid debate tactic.
The Arab world wouldn't. Why would the Arab world would?
Why did they do it on the 6-Day War? Why would they do it on the Yom Kippur War?
The 6-Day War. You talk about the 6-Day War when Israel basically attacked Egypt.
No, they were attacked and provoked by. I mean, it's like let me just pause. I want to get to another question, but I have to say something, and this is what's disappointing. It's okay. He's coming in good faith. I have never been more pessimistic that this problem will ever be solved. Not because of you, but because there's just 2 different realities when it comes to this, and you cannot solve a problem when one side has a completely different telling of history than the other side. And that's fine. I'm not trying to attack you.
What I'm saying about history is wrong. But the Ottoman
yes,
Empire
but I don't want to dwell on that. But more important.
Me, though?
again, more importantly than that,
Okay.
is that the other side has a completely different view of it. So I don't even know how we can reconcile this.
There are extremists on both sides. That's what I'm trying to
Well,
tell you.
that's the problem. There might
Like
be.
for me personally, I'm Arab, and I still believe in Israel's right to exist. But there
I'm
are,
glad.
Oh,
I'm glad to hear that. I say there's extremists on the Israeli side. I think all of Hamas is extreme.
Yes, all of Hamas is extreme, but all the Palestinians aren't Hamas members. So, yeah, I don't know why he's making that argument.
So I don't even want to say we're going to agree to disagree. I don't even know what planet you're coming from for this stuff. I think that I just say that.
for
I mean,
what stuff? For what stuff you think? What?
all of
are you
it.
talking
I
about?
just the idea that you would even entertain the idea that Jews could live peacefully under Muslims, that you're looking at a two-state solution. It's fine. I'm not trying to criticize you.
So you just slipped in right there? The two-state solution is on a completely different planet? So Netanyahu's been saying, hey, there's no such thing as a two-state solution. We want to own Gaza. He just let that slip.
I just don't. Do you think that? In which country is more that looks more like American values, Israel or the Palestinian Authority?
I think Israel.
Again, kind of a dumb argument. I mean, I get what he's trying to say. Still kind of a dumb argument.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you say a two-state solution. What in conclusion would that look like?
That would conclude that Palestine would have the right to exist, and they would have the right to govern themselves, and that
Why can't they be part of Jordan?
why would they be a part of Jordan?
What is the national identity of Palestine? Educate me.
Palestinians.
What is that?
Like, what do you mean? What is that?
Yeah. What ethnicity are they?
Arabs?
Okay, so all Arabs are Palestinians?
No, but they are Arabs. What you trying to say? What is your point?
I'm trying to say, because at what point does somebody become a Palestinian?
When he was born in Palestine, or if his parents are Palestinians?
Again, this is why we're talking past each other.
What you trying to say?
I don't think the place exists.
What?
Because it.
So here's earlier when I said that he brought up the Hamas government, and this is where he's contradicting himself here. It's like, or he's making the wrong argument, because earlier he said, oh, Hamas was elected, which they were in 2006, and that's their government. If they have a government, that means they exist. Now he's saying, oh, the Palestinians don't even exist. That as a place doesn't exist. Okay, either they don't have a government, so they're not a thing, or they do have a government that was Hamas and they were elected. Which one? Can't have it both ways. Okay, if you're looking at it objectively, you cannot have it both. Can't do both sides.
It doesn't. It's called Judea and Samaria. It's not called Palestine.
That right there is where he is coming from his whole argument, which I'm not necessarily saying is a bad thing, but he's coming at it from a biblical argument. And if you're looking at what Israel's doing from a biblical argument, you're never going to actually see the bad that Israel's doing. Again, I'm a Christian. I was raised Southern Baptist. Make no apologies about that. I very much, obviously, am for Israel's right to exist, but that doesn't mean that I have to accept everything the Israeli government is doing as, oh, they're the Israelis, so they can do what they want. That's obviously not how it works. You can't look at things that way.
You don't believe that Palestine have the right to exist?
No, everyone has a right to exist. Show me where it is. It's a non-existent place.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we're gonna.
That's why
agree
we're on
that.
different planets, right? So, here, in closing with this, I find it very hard to sympathize at all with a group that decided to attack another civilian force of babies and girls and go to a concert and keep them as hostages and then play the victim.
Okay, again, look, did Hamas do that? Yeah, but why can't you denounce that when Israel does it? Like, 50% of the population of Gaza is under 18. So if you're just randomly bombing buildings, you're gonna kill the kids that are in there. So it's like, if you're gonna say it's bad when Hamas does it, you also have to say it's bad when Israel does it. Again, it's another one of these. You can't have it both ways. If Hamas does it, equals bad. Correct. If Israel does the same thing, it's still bad, and it's still equally as reprehensible. Just because Israel does it doesn't now make it somehow okay. It's like, hey, if someone came in and robbed, say if like I was here, I was in my house, my family was here. Someone came in and robbed me and then killed a member of my family. That doesn't mean I can follow them back to their house and burn their house down with 20 of their cousins in there and go, oh well, he robbed me and killed a member of my family, so I now get to go kill 20 of his. Like, you can't just do that.
Instead of playing the victim, they never should have attacked
Are you
Israel in the
talking
first
about
place.
October 7th? You're talking about
Yes,
October 7th?
of course I am.
But
yeah.
it didn't start on October 7th. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
You see, we have a
Did you
different
read about the
reading of
2021
things.
war, 2014?
Yes, of course there were little skirmishes.
Again, it's another dishonest thing. Little skirmishes, like earlier he pointed out the 6 Day War, and then now they're going to talk about the 2014 war, and he's going to go, oh, it's a little skirmish. It's just not being honest.
But
Skirmishes, they weren't skirmishes.
They elevated this to such a level. They invited the Israel response to a level. They knew what was going to happen.
Okay, yeah, probably true. They probably knew. I would say Hamas knew that Israel would respond in kind. But again, most of that debate was just Charlie was just being willfully ignorant and willfully dishonest, which sucks because when he's being like his debate with Gavin Newsom, I like that version of Charlie Kirk's debating. Super awesome. But for some reason, and a lot of people are this way, like when you bring Israel into it, their whole moral system just changes. Like, hey, morally, is it bad to kill civilians? Yes. Okay, so it's bad to kill civilians when Hamas does it. It's bad to kill civilians when Israel does it. And then for some reason, people will come in and be like, oh, no, Israel had XYZ justification. It's like, okay, is it bad or is it not? So, all right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed that. Please like, subscribe, and leave some comments down below. It really helps me out a lot, and I will catch y'all later.